So this is the second part of the all things being equal activity. We'll be working more hands-on. We'll be looking for three different ions and like their presence in a reversible reaction. The iron 3 ion is light orange because the colors are important. So here's the iron 3 ion, or the iron 3 in solution is light orange. Um, then the thiocyanate ion in solution is actually clear, looks a little bit like water. And when you mix these two, the reversible reaction forms iron 3 thiocyanate, which is dark, dark red. And that's what we'll be paying attention to. Moving on to the procedure, we have to fill a small test tube with the thiocyanate ions, or the potassium thiocyanate in solution. So we'll be doing that. I only filled it about halfway, just for reference, because if you go all of the way, the solution looks much, much darker um, red at the end. You also have to put some of the iron 3 nitrate into a little test tube. Although this one's supposed to only be 10 drops, a much, much smaller amount. It's a little bit more concentrated, zero 0.2 molar versus the 0.1 molar thiocyanate. But you add the 10 drops to there, and you can see the difference in color, the iron one being the one that looks yellow on the left and the thiocyanate on the right. And once you've got the two solutions, you need to mix them in a little bit of a larger test tube. So this is the potassium thiocyanate first, to which we'll be adding the iron 3 nitrate, the 10 drops of iron 3 nitrate. So once we've added that, you'll notice the color is a much darker, deep red. I'll show a better picture here for you. Just note how dark. Once you have the iron 3 thiocyanate in that bigger test tube, we'll be trying to split it up into three other ones that we'll be using to do different things and compare them to each other, about equal amounts. So we should label them number 1, number 2, and number 3. Just keep them in like your test tube rack. Number 1 is actually going to be the reference that the other two will be compared to. So I guess leave it just on the left side. To number 2, we need to add 4 more drops of that potassium thiocyanate that we used earlier, and just see if there's a difference in color or any color change at all. Um, and yeah, mix it around because then you know that the right things have happened. Uh, so here, we've put them in the front, and we'll try to see if there's any color difference. It looks very hard to pick up on the computer, but the one on the right looks a little bit darker, more wine colored than the one on the left, which looks a little bit red. It's very subtle, but there is a little bit of a difference. The one on the right being with extra thiocyanate made it a little bit darker, in my opinion, at least. For we'll also be comparing the third test tube to number 1 by using this new solution, this sodium hydrogen phosphate, which is actually going to take the iron 3 ions out of solution. So we should add 4 drops here to number 3, going one at a time, um, because each drop makes a big difference, or at least the second and third and fourth drops make a big difference, as you'll see in just a second. We add the first drop to there, give it a little swirl around, but you'll notice that that's not a huge change in color, if anything, yet. Still that dark red color you see going on. So we'll try to add a second drop, and we spin it around. Again, not a whole lot. When you push it up onto the sides there, you can see a more orange and more red, but it's still about the same after the second drop. So we'll add a third drop now. The third drop makes actually a big difference. So you can see here, this is after 3 drops of that sodium hydrogen phosphate. It's much, much lighter, much, much redder. Again, we're taking out the iron 3 ions because um, the hydrogen phosphate reacts with the iron in that way. And just to show it go even farther, here's the 4th drop of that sodium hydrogen phosphate. When you look at that one, it is actually yellow, as you can see here. So here's a better close-up of all 3 of the solutions, 1, number 2, and number 3. The one on the left, number 1, is red. The one in the middle is a little bit darker. Again, it's a little hard to see, but in my eyes, the one in the middle is a little bit darker. And the one on the right is yellow, as you can see. It's distinctly different because you were taking these ions out of solution. If you were to keep adding sodium hydrogen phosphate, it would actually go completely clear again eventually. Um, and that actually sums up part 2. So hopefully you learned something out of it, and hopefully it helps you more with part 3, which is designed to help you learn more about equilibrium as this chapter begins.